All right, welcome back to the Larry Hembree pregame show. We're here on the Where Are They Now segment, and tonight we have 1977 standout David Strange. Dave, how are you doing this evening?
Pretty good. How are you, Larry?
Just fine, Dave. Good to talk to you again. Dave, you graduated in 1977 and played on the 1975 state finalist team or state runner-up team. Looking back at your career in 1977, who are some of the players that you played ball with?
Well, in 77, my senior year, we had, I believe, 4 seniors on the varsity that year. Myself, Mike Wagner, of course, who is our JV coach now. Tim Dant, Richard Bloodsaw, Dennis Birch also. And, of course, you were on that team in 77 also. And let's see who else we had there. Mike Beasley, I believe. Mark Gillick, to name a few there.
Right. And now 1977 had a pretty good season that year. I believe we were 19-1, got beat in the sectional by Washington. Pretty tough ball game. Yeah,
that was a pretty disappointing loss there in the sectional for, not only for us, but for a lot of people in the town. There's still a lot of people who talk about that game. Both from Loogootee and from Washington, too. It was a good game for everybody that remembers, but it didn't turn out well for us.
Well, playing in the game, it's one that you'd never forget. We came out and we held the ball against the Hatchets, and I think mainly you and Paul Taylor were the only 2 players that maybe scored that night.
Yeah, it probably looked like I was a ball hog that game, but that's just the way it worked out. The style of ball we were playing that night was basically worked for me, but it didn't allow some of our other players to shine.
Well, it wasn't so much that. We were able to get you the ball. Of course, you always knew what to do with the ball when you got it. Now, Dave, you played in 1975 as a sophomore. What kind of experience was it playing on that state runner-up basketball team?
Well, as you can imagine, it's something you'll never forget. And, I'm sure both me as a player and a lot of the people around Loogootee, it was a pretty special time. And there's not many times, especially when basketball season, tournament season rolls around, that I don't think upon that. And that whole tournament, that whole year for that matter, we played awful well. But of course, I don't think anybody ever really expected us to go as far as we did. But once we got on a roll in the tournament, we were hard to beat. We just played as a team, and everybody did their job, and we ended up there at the state. Pretty special experience, that's for sure.
Dave, 1977, second game of the season, we were playing Mater Dei on our home floor, and they had just reinstituted the dunk in high school basketball. And if my memory serves me right, from what I can tell, you might have been the first player in Loogootee history to actually dunk a basketball in regulation basketball that was official. You recall that game?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure you'd actually classify that as a dunk. I had that intent when I went up there, but from the time I left the floor until the time it went in the basket, I kind of lost control of it a little bit, but it wouldn't have won any contest, let's put it that way.
Well, we weren't really judging it, but from where I was standing out on the floor, which was about 10 feet from behind you, it looked like, you're right, you might have lost control, but you actually got it pushed down, and the crowd enjoyed it, and then from what I can remember, it was the first dunk, but that's never said or there. We had Jeff Doyle maybe dunk one in a game in 1990 against Vincennes, but not too many players in Loogootee actually ever had the opportunity to dunk a basketball, and this year as well, don't think we really have any players on the team that can do that. So that's interesting. Dave, when you graduated from Loogootee, you went on to Rose-Hulman. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about your career at Rose-Hulman?
Yeah, well, as most people may know, Rose-Hulman's a Division III school. Basically, noted for its academics and not its athletics. But and when I graduated, I really didn't really have any big desire to try to go to some school for an athletic scholarship. I was pretty well interested in the academics and getting a good education, which I did at Rose-Hulman, but it was also, I was able to play basketball up there for 4 years and really had a very enjoyable time up there. Got to travel around quite a bit, see the world. The program was really good about that, going, seeing places, playing a little ball while we were there. And we had some very very talented players while we were up there. Matter of fact, 2 other players that I played with that were in my class up there were also academic all-state players when they were graduated in '77. So we had some good teams, had some good times, and like you say, the most important thing is I got a good education up there.
Well, of course, you played for Coach Butcher like all of us have, and now, I guess in 1977, you probably had no way of predicting he'd actually end up being your father-in-law. So I guess you have to tread a little lightly on this question, but what was it like playing for Coach Butcher? What do you recall about your time at LHS and as coach the coach, not necessarily the father-in-law?
Just his intensity in practices during the game. That desire to get the very best out of all of his players, and the drive to try to get that, and not being satisfied if he felt that you weren't putting out all you were capable of doing.
Dave, when you went to college and you first made that transition from high school to college as an athlete playing basketball, did you have any kind of I don't necessarily call it withdrawal, but actually going from playing from a program as high profile as Loogootee, as exciting, and the fans output, and have a very competent coach to teach you, going into a situation like Rose-Hulman, was there any real issues regarding that? Was it hard for you to accept some new instruction from a coaching, or getting kind of into the swing of things with the basketball program there after having compared it to a very successful high school program?
Not really. I didn't have any problem transitioning, and it was a lot different. Of course, the athletics wasn't quite the, stressed up there like a lot of other college programs. So, but no, I didn't have any problems in transitioning there. Most players, whenever they graduate, I kind of wish, I knew some of the things or played the way I did in college. Like I could have played that way in high school, because you get a lot smarter. It seems like just in that 1 year when you get out of high school, you mature a little bit, get a little bit play smarter, and you get bigger, things like that. I really enjoyed playing those 4 years, and I improved quite a bit. Even when I got out of high school. So.
Well, they never called you Doc for nothing, and obviously had an excellent career playing basketball for Loogootee. You also played. You graduated the same year with Coach Wagner, and what do you remember about Mike Wagner from high school?
Well, the thing I remember about Mike is it always seems like Mike and myself had that little that basketball sense that we were able to know what each other was going to do. And whether it was in basketball or in baseball, we seemed to have that sense of which way a guy was going to break, when he was going to go back door, which way he was going to cut, things like that. Really made it enjoyable to playing with Mike. And that's something that you can't teach, you don't learn. It's just got to be there, and it was there for us.
Well, Coach Wagner, one of the ironies that I enjoy being around practice and talking to the coaches is that Coach Wagner was in Coach Butcher's doghouse somewhat, and I recall that from high school. And now to see him sitting next to him on the bench trying to instruct players and not making certain passes or taking bad shots, I get a little bit of enjoyment watching that, and I think it's a bit of an irony as well.
Yeah, he was in the doghouse some, but sometimes you're not going to be able to make good plays or make the play unless you try, and you're not going to make the play every time. You're going to make mistakes sometimes, but never stopped Mike, and eventually it got to where he was one of the best guards in the area.
No doubt about it. And one thing about Mike, he might make kind of a risky pass this time, but the next time down the court, he seemed to always make up for it or make even a greater pass, and always seemed like he always had the crowd on his side when he played as well.
Well, like I say, he got me a lot of my baskets.
Yeah, that's nice. Listen, Dave, I really do appreciate talking to you tonight. And in closing, why don't you tell us a little bit what you've been up to since you graduated from college and resettled in the Loogootee area?
Well, again, I graduated from Rose-Hulman with an engineering degree. Went to work at the Naval Surface Warfare Center, Crane. And like I say, I'm married to the former Donna Butcher. And we have 2 children, a boy who's just starting to play some ball now. He's in 5th grade, and a girl in 3rd grade. And basically it seems like with the family and work, that's about all we get done.
Well, Dave, listen, I appreciate you taking the time out of your evening this evening to talk to us, and we wish you the best of luck, and we'll see you around the ball court.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Appreciate the time.
You're welcome, Dave.